Hello and welcome to the Sacred Gates here on YouTube. My name is Illura and I am from the Sacred Gates and the Tayshara lineage, which is an ancient healing lineage that is one we are lucky enough is still around. And that is thanks to the Life Mastery Guilds, of which I will soon do a podcast episode just on some of those connections, a little bit of background for you. But today I wanted to do a podcast on sex, or actually specifically on having sex and what can be transferred through the experience and act of sex. I've had a client recently contact me who was asking about that, and she's now receiving healing attunements to help her release the residues of her sexual past. And so I thought this is a great opportunity to answer her question, which we've already taken care of, but also just to share it with you in case you've had your own thoughts about this very important topic. So sex is most definitely a sacred gateway. Our bodies are designed for these experiences, and sex in itself is a sacred gateway, even on, as you know, like Tantra is a spiritual gateway. So there's many, many positives, but of course, with something that's so incredibly powerful, there can also be a negative side to it, which we'll go into. So if you are thinking that you may have picked up more than just an STD, which is the physical manifestation of some of those problems, a sexually transmitted disease, that's more at the physical level, but they can also affect you in many other ways depending on the severity of them and what they are. But you can also pick up on other things that aren't so great either, because you're being so intimate with somebody else and you're allowing them into your body, or you're allowing them to receive you in such a way. So it's very powerful. It's a big, big exchange of energy. It is the creation, essentially. It's where we're meant to be creating life. On one level, there's a creation of life. So just like with birth and with death and with creation of life, there's lots of exchange, a lot of energies, lots of hormones, lots of energy. So when you, let's just speak from the female perspective first. So if you are a woman and you're receiving a man into your body through his penis, he's putting his penis into your vagina. So you are actually receiving him physically into your body. So there's already an exchange of energy. There is the chances that he could have an STD or that you have one. So you can exchange these kinds of things. But you're also, as a woman, receiving the man's blueprint through his sperm. You're receiving, his DNA literally, and within the DNA is the blueprint of his essence, of his spirit, of all his karmic body, all his karma. Yes, it's quite huge, isn't it? So there is a lot there going on in his sperm, a lot of information, and there's all of his lineage, of his family, where he comes from. There's a lot of stuff. You're also receiving not only that through his sperm, but you're also, of course, with him, and you're experiencing even in his saliva, things like that. There's so much energy that's coming from him. So depending on how he is, you are getting all of that from him. So his mental body, his emotional body, how he is, his ethics, of course, is huge. Who he is fundamentally as a person right now, and his character, that's all being transferred to you. If he is, dabbling in the dark arts, just say consciously, then you would be receiving issues around that, which is almost another video we could do on that. So if he's dabbling in, what do you call it? That and depending on what he's into, then he's going to be connecting all that with you through your body, through your conduit, and through you, opening up to him. Even if it's consensual, it's still happening. And of course, on a non-consensual level, then there's a whole lot of trauma that comes with that, of course. So he's also going to have entities depending on, if he's doing drugs, for example, and he's been opening up his energy, then he's been a beacon for a lot of lower entities. And so he will have them, and that can also be exchanged into you as well. It really depends on what level you're at and what level he's at and what level all those are at. So it's kind of can't go into all of it. It depends on each person. And then, of course, if you're a man and you are receiving a woman and she's allowing you to do have sex with her, you are also potentially receiving STDs from her. Of course, the physical aspect of those has its own ramifications, then the energetic ramifications. And then you will also be receiving things like, undealt with emotions in her own womb. She's also going to have her own emotional, mental, whatever's going on for her there. You're going to receive her ethics and her, and through her own DNA that she has, that she's sharing with you, there's going to be all those imprints as well. So there's going to be a lot of exchange on those levels. And of course, her character, her ethics, like I said, that's exactly the same, of course, as it is for men. So we will receive all these things are exchanged. The same can also, of course, be true for a man that is with a woman and the woman is dabbling in the dark arts. That is also something that is unfortunately not very uncommon, especially when men and women are wanting to attract other people into their lives and draw from them sexually or draw from their attention. And some women can, of course, be working with dark energies as well. And sometimes they will make contracts with succubuses, for example, and the men unconsciously won't realize, of course, that they're being attracted to this woman because of the succubus, and that can drain them, even if it's just on one level of meeting them or going all the way and having sex with them, with her. He'll be drained by the succubus energy. That can also just be those arts where they like to manipulate people mentally and emotionally and energetically without them knowing, and they may not have done contracts with demons in that case, but they are just don't have good ethics. And of course, the same goes if you're with someone who's really spiritually attained, and if you're both working at that level, then there's a lot of sacred gates and potentials that can open up through sex as a sacred gateway for a lot of spiritual exchange. So if a man, for example, is a really serious practitioner with a lot of practice going on in his life, he's a conduit for a lot of spiritual energies passing through, then his sperm will hold those frequencies. And so when a woman has sex with him or on some level receives that ejaculate, she'll be receiving those transmissions of energy of what he's been working on. So you can see that it can be a big spectrum from, highly attained, clear, good character, good ethics. So the exchange from a man or woman will be quite good, all the way through a spectrum to, oh my God, what did I just do? I was with this guy or I was with this woman, and it was like, I regret it. So you can see that there's a really large spectrum that we're touching on here. I also just wanted to add in here that if someone is highly attained spiritually, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have good ethics. So that's a classic kind of story of the spiritual guru who's sleeping with all their students and they're highly attained. So people are thinking highly of them, yet at the same time, their ethics are really bad and they're using dark energies and even demonic forces, making contracts with demons in order to get power and control people's minds, and then also draw energy through them sexually. So that's something you may have heard about. It can happen in a lot of spiritual lineages, and eventually they kind of build empires, cults and things like that around them and draw on a lot of power in various ways, and often the sacred gate of sexuality will be one of those ways. That can be men or women, and they can be highly attained, yet have really bad ethics. So there's always that to consider too. So how does this play out in someone's life if they've had a period in their life? Often in the younger years of someone, they can dabble into sexuality, such as, in their late teens through their 20s. Sometimes it can be like a 2-decade thing, or a decade of or just a year of a lot of sexual activity, or one experience that you regret or you're wondering about. So it really depends on how sexually active you were. And of course, you could have just been with one person and it could have felt like it was a lot of people because they'd been with a lot of people. Depends on your sensitivity. It depends on how much clearing and healing you've been doing. But when you have received, you can pick up entities anywhere. It also depends if you're with a sex worker. For example, if you're a sex worker or you're being with a sex worker or been with one, then you're also going to have received, of course, more entities from them because their work is sex. So they've been with a lot of different people. So it's just kind of like splitting the atom. It just keeps splitting and splitting and splitting, and you get all these different variables. And so there's that to consider as well. And so if you are concerned about having picked up different things or been exposed or received at a deep level different energies from someone, there are things that you can do about it. Having a really good practice of keeping healthy food, healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, all of that stuff is always really, really important. And having healthy, I guess you could call it energy hygiene practices and taking care of yourself. Because we come from a lineage, the Tayshara lineage's principles are founded in release. So we use subtractive methods as opposed to adding things. We're very much into subtracting, releasing, and dissolving and clarifying through that process. Then our practices help to clarify your body as a conduit that may have been chonked up and have interference, you could call it, from sexual encounters with other people. And so we can hold those encounters and those frequencies and energies and things like that for our entire life if we don't clear them. And that can, of course, affect you in different ways, unconsciously and consciously, to varying degrees. It may not be that bad. Or if you're very sensitive and you start to kind of notice things, you may feel a sense of the root coming from those experiences or that timeline in your life. And why these things can stay with you is because of the timelessness of our consciousness, the timelessness. So if you think about a bad memory that you have, or equally a really good memory you have, when you go back to that memory, you are tapping into your timelessness. Your emotional body is quite timeless. So we're able to hold things and feel things as if they were just yesterday, even though they happened 10 years ago, or even if they happened even when you were a little child. So that timeless nature, that timeless quality allows us to store both the good and the bad, and that can include that sexual interference as well. Just as you can get an STD from many years, it can stay around depending on what it is and still affect you. So these kinds of things can be cleared in our bodies. We can clear them in our emotional body, and we can clear them in our mental body and our physical body through distance healing. If you are interested in getting a reading, if you want to find out more about how things are affecting you around your sexual past, and or receive a healing to help to clear the interference out of your system, because what can happen is the interference is called interference for a reason. It can interfere with your abilities, with your emotional body, with your spiritual abilities, and with your mental patterning as well, and things like that, and who you attract in the future if you're concerned. Of course, there's deeper work that each of us need to do individually, that each of us needs to take if we want to just say attract someone different. If we find that we're having a certain pattern of attracting the same kind of person, there's always that work that we need to take responsibility for. We also do manifestations also on anything that our lineage can align with. So if it's in your highest good and is of a positive outcome for the world in general, and it's not based on greed and things like that, then we do manifestations for clients as well who are interested in having monthly or bi-monthly or 3-monthly or even every month for the entire year. We do manifestations for you. We basically work on those. We keep them fresh. We keep them aligned. We keep clearing them and helping update you on where they're at, where you are at in resonating with that particular manifestation. And it can be really helpful for people, especially if you're experiencing, not just if you want something physical in your world, like you need something in your life, but also for health issues. It's really, really powerful. We've got a few clients that have regular manifestations, and that gives them regular energetic support, manifesting what they want for physical health as well. So that can be quite powerful and something for you to consider if you're interested in having the sacred gates be of service to you. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you're having a lovely start to the new year. If you haven't already subscribed to our newsletter, you can do that by downloading the 20-minute training, which is also excellent information if you would like to learn how to access spiritual gateways more easily, how to open up your healing potential and tap into your healing masteries, which we all have. And that 20-minute training is there for you in the description link below if you'd like to get that. And then you'll go on our monthly newsletter as well. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope this has been informative for you. and I look forward to connecting with you in the next podcast. Bye-bye for now.